I've been based out here digital nomading for 3 years in Southeast Asia, but it took me a little while to get to Bali. I'm finally here. Questions are starting to come in. Riley, what's good with Bali? How is it compared to Chiang Mai and Bangkok and Thailand and all that? So in this video, this is gonna be everything I know about Bali up to this point, everything that I think you should know if you're coming to visit Bali or if you're a digital nomad, aka location independent entrepreneur, someone working remotely, coming here to base yourself for a month or more or whatever. So I'm gonna go over all of that, including what are the overall vibes of Bali? What's it like? How does it compare to Chiang Mai? Is it as cheap as Chiang Mai? Where are the best areas to stay in Bali? How much does it cost for a dope villa? Where are the good places to eat? What is the coffee shop scene like? What are the co-working spaces like? And what are the tourist activities that I should do, Riley, if I'm coming out just to visit Bali? So this video is kind of just going to be like, if you met me at a coffee shop and picked my brain for a while, this is everything that I know, as well as the overall cost of living if you're a digital nomad or if you're just coming out for a vacation in Bali. We're going to get into all of that, everything you should know, passport heavy style. This is my best Jabril impersonation here. By the way, I got videos with Jabril and passport heavy, links below in this channel. And as always, if you would like to read all of this information in a more organized blog post format, check the blog post in the link in the description. Leave your tips, tricks, and experiences in the comments below, and let's get into it. All right, so first of all, general information about Bali. What is Bali? So it's part of the country of Indonesia, but it's kind of like its own culture because it's actually a Hindu majority compared to the overall country of Indonesia, which is Muslim majority. It's kind of got its own history and culture in that point. The native language in Indonesia is Bahasa. They even have their own Balinese dialect, but everyone speaks English. I would say even more so than in Thailand. I haven't come in contact with anyone who doesn't speak English. So if you're wondering about that, it's a non-issue, as is pretty much everywhere around the world. People speak English in tourist-facing situations anyway. So that being said, Bali is very famous for tourism. It's one of the most visited islands in the world. It was named by TripAdvisor the #1 island of 2017, and it brings over 4 million tourists per year, most of that being from Australia. So that's why I call Bali the Hawaii of Australia. You know, everyone in the States, they go to Hawaii for their 2-week vacation. Many people from Australia do the same to Bali. It's very close to Australia. Speaking of Hawaii, for a size comparison, like how big is Bali? It is about 3 times the size of Maui and about half the size of the big island in Hawaii. So to give you a gist of it, it's a good size, you know, it's big, small. Just like Hawaii, you know, there's obviously most of the action is happening around the beach, but there's also inland life. In particular, the most famous inland city is Ubud, which we'll talk about later in the video. If you go to certain places in Bali, they're gonna be less touristy compared to the main area. So like any place you go, it is what you make it. You can stay in the touristy areas. If you wanna go off the beaten path, you can do that as well. Bali is what you make it. 2 of the most popular areas for digital nomads in particular, and pretty much the only 2 areas that I had heard of before coming here, is Canggu, which is where I am now. It is on the beach, and Ubud, which is about an hour to hour and a half inland depending on traffic, which isn't that far. So, and you can even drive to the north coast all the way across the island in like 2 to 3 hours on your motorbike if you want to. So you can definitely do day trips all around the island, get a van if you don't want to do a motorbike. I've been in Canggu for a few weeks now, so in this video it's going to be mostly talking about Canggu, but I was also in Ubud for 2 days, so I'll go over what I think about Ubud, the co-working spaces there, places to eat, accommodation, and also some general info about what to expect in the main Bali areas, which is down here in the south, namely Canggu, and then a little bit south of Canggu you have Seminyak area, and a little bit south of that you have Kuta Beach, which is the main area. I would call Kuta Beach, I call it like the Cabo area, where you have the main strip with all the super nightclubs, including Sky Garden, which is the super nightclub in Bali. I call it like a Cabo type club, and we'll get into that later. So let's get into it. All right, you guys ready? I'm feeling comfy, feeling good. I'm just gonna lay it all out there, hang out with me, have some coffee, get a Red Bull, whatever. Everything I know about Bali. Okay, first of all, in general, people ask, is it as cheap as Chiang Mai? In a nutshell, I'd say it's a little bit more expensive than Chiang Mai. Can you bootstrap and live for less than $1,000 a month in Canggu? Yes, you definitely can. You definitely can find that small room for $100, $200 a night if you want. Yes, you can eat local food for $1.50 a plate. But I'm telling you, you're probably not going to want to, because there's so much good organic cafe food around here that you're going to want to eat. You're not going to want to eat local food every single meal. And there's so many just fun temptations, especially for your first month that you get here. It still can be very cheap if you wanted to. That's the beauty of Southeast Asia, is if you want to bootstrap and live for less than $1,000 a month, you can do that. If you want to have a budget of $2,000, $3,000, or even a United States budget, $4,000, $5,000 a month, you're going to be living like an absolute king in a sick villa like this that I'm sitting at right now, which is called Casa Casbah, by the way. I'll get into that a little bit later. This villa goes for $700 a night. Ballin' in Bali, not on a budget if you're staying at this place. Boom. All right, let's get into it. So I'm going to talk about accommodation. I'm going to talk about general tips. I'm going to talk about food prices. I'm going to talk about things to do. And overall, I wrote a whole blog post about everything that I know about Bali. If my best friend were to come here, if my mom were to come here right now, do I like Bali? What's good with it? I'm getting mixed reviews. Riley, what's the deal with Canggu? Yeah, Canggu is really quickly growing on me. I can hear the waves right now. Obviously, I'm really close to the beach. I'm in a super sick villa, but it's growing on me really quick, and I definitely will be coming back here to spend some more time. So yes, I love Canggu. What's not to love? It's beach vibes. And for what it's worth, this is actually the first beach location that I've ever been based in my 3-year Southeast Asia history. I've done, of course, trips to the islands in Thailand and Vietnam, but I've never been based in island in a beach location. I've been based in mostly Chiang Mai, Bangkok, and Saigon. So I'm really excited to be working in cafes and co-working spaces right by the beach. So it's all new for me, so I'm very excited about it. Let's get into the nitty-gritty of everything I know about Bali. All right, here we go. When you first get into Bali, at the airport, you're going to be greeted by tons of taxi drivers. Try not to forget, like I almost forget. As always, go to the SIM card station and get your phone hooked up with a SIM card when you get to Bali, especially if you're with a group. Personally, if I'm with a group and someone doesn't have a SIM card, I consider that rude of them, because we're waiting for them to get Wi-Fi to respond to our messages if we're trying to plan stuff, etc., etc. Get a SIM card, figure it out. As always, general travel stuff, make sure your ATM, a debit card, has a travel notice, blah, 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 the basic stuff. So back to the taxis. If you're staying at a villa, many hotels, villas, and resorts will pick you up for a fair fee at the airport, and they'll even write your name on the little sign and pick you up. So ask your villa if they can pick you up for the airport. If not, just go ahead and take one of the taxis. You can use, if you have Uber, Grab, you can use those apps as a price comparison in order to get a fair price from the taxi drivers. Or another app which you might want to download before you get to Bali is called Gojek, and it is basically the Uber Eats / much more of Indonesia. It's the most popular app in Indonesia. You can grab taxis, motorbike taxis. You can even order food, groceries, and massages. Yes, you can even order massages from this app called Gojek. So order a taxi if you want, or just take one of the taxi guys there, but use that app to figure out what's a fair price. Here's a pro tip about tipping. So of course these guys do this all day, but when I got into the airport, you know, they take your bags to the taxi, to the van, and then they're asking for a tip, all the guys that took your bags. And I just have a wad full of Indonesian money, and I don't know the values quite yet, so they're like asking for 100K each, which I didn't know really how much that was. So I'm like tipping them 100K each. That's $7, so that's too much. Tip them $1. A $1 tip is good anywhere, especially if it's only for 5-10 minutes. $1 tip, which is about 20K. Tip them only 20K each. Don't get tip ripped off. But anyways, in general, when you're in Southeast Asia or traveling, don't fret over a couple bucks. It's just a couple bucks. Okay, getting around in Bali. How do people get around? Most people get around by motorbike. That's my favorite. As you know, I get around on motorbike every day in Chiang Mai and Bangkok and Saigon. I love motorbikes. Taking a motorbike trip through the mountains for a day trip is one of my favorite things to do, and you should definitely do that. I recommend getting motorbikes when you come into Bali, and at some point take a trip around the island or just straight to the north to the volcanoes, to the secret waterfalls, all that stuff. If you don't want to get a motorbike, definitely download the Gojek app and hail taxi cabs or motorbike taxis to get you to wherever you are. It's very cheap, only a couple bucks here and there, pretty cheap. Uber and Grab, they are here, but you'll see signs around that are frowning upon Uber and Grab because they're not local. Gojek is more local and a little bit less frowned upon, so you can do that. All right, so you're like, Riley, all that's good. People ask me, what is the best place to stay in Bali? So here are my honest thoughts. First of all, the breakdown of the main areas of Bali. I'm gonna go on my phone here and show you guys a little breakdown lay of the land, because I know when I try to go somewhere for the first time, I like to kind of look at the map and kind of get a feel of where things are, if you know what I'm saying. So here we have the island of Bali. Yes, we are in the planet Earth, and we're down south here. We have Australia below us. So Bali is this little island here. This is Bali. So as you can see, most of the action is happening here in the south. So if you zoom into where I am right now, we have Canggu. Okay, so Canggu in general, which is this general area up here, popular amongst digital nomads, of course, because you have the co-working space Dojo Bali here. It's also popular for surfers because you have Echo Beach, which is very popular. It's kind of more quiet than down south here, which I'll talk about in a second. A little bit more quiet, and I describe Canggu as basically everywhere is an organic cafe selling chicken avocado salads, which are delicious, and I get them almost every day. Smoothie bowls, and there's surf shops, which are all around Bali, but kind of more quiet than the more touristy areas. It's still touristy, but not as touristy as the main touristy areas, which are down here. So that's what Canggu is all about. I love the chill vibes of Canggu, and of course there's still tons of local food options you can get for $1.50 a plate. The other two areas are a Seminyak area, which is here, and then further south, Kuta Beach, which is down here. So first, Seminyak. Seminyak is kind of in between Canggu and Kuta. Still very hip. Lots of nice restaurants. You have the W down here. You have Potato Head and Mississippi. Two really cool kind of pool beach clubs. Yeah, that's Seminyak. I think that's a great area to stay. Yeah, Seminyak is great. A little bit more shopping there, and a little bit more happening, a little bit more traffic, and a little bit more main city area. But Seminyak is a great area if you are not, if you don't want to stay in Canggu. I would recommend Seminyak for sure. And then if you go a little bit further south, a little bit closer to the airport, a little bit more downtown, I would say, you're getting into Kuta area. So Kuta area, I would describe that as the main touristy area, the most crowded touristy area. I describe it as like the Cabo area. So you have like a main strip here on the beach around this area where you have the main super club, for example, called Sky Garden, which we went to and I'll get to later in this video. If you want to stay in like the most touristy area, I'm sure there are lots of great resorts and places to stay here. It's still good, but yeah, a little bit more touristy, a little bit more downtown if you like that more kind of downtown energy. But yeah, that's Kuta, and that's kind of the main three areas, I would say. You also have in the very south tip, you have Uluwatu Beach, which I have not been to, but I hear that's cool to stay at too, a little bit more a small town feel. And then if you go 1 hour up north, you have Ubud here, which is also popular amongst digital nomads. You have the co-working space Ubud, which we did check out and I will get to in a little bit. But yeah, there is my kind of coaching breakdown. If my mom were to ask me like where to stay, what's good with Bali, I would give her that little breakdown on the map right there. So yeah, Canggu, Seminyak, Kuta Beach, that's the general layout here down south. So first of all, Canggu. That's where I am right now. But first of all, let's talk about accommodation. What does the villa situation look like? What does a huge 6-bedroom mansion villa like this cost like? How cheap can I live? Let's get into it. So if you look on Airbnb, and I'm gonna do a screen share here, just show you. So if you go search Canggu, 3 guests for an entire home, you're gonna see a huge range. So this price range starts at 30 bucks a night for an entire home. As you can see, you go up and there are tons and tons of options around the $100 a night range. So like from 60 to 200, that's where you're gonna get the majority of price ranges for entire villas. And then you go up here, of course, tons in the 300 range, 400 range, and you go up here and there's some in 700 all the way up to like 1,000. So let's just show you what that looks like. Starting at $74 a night. Super sick places. Look at this one. You can get a super sick place like this, 74 bucks a night, or sorry, 92 bucks a night. So let's say you're splitting that between 4 people. It's got 4 beds, 25 bucks a night each. You know, pretty good. And then all the way up to a huge villa like this for $773 a night. You know, it's got, let's say, 4 bedrooms, but everyone's a couple, so you split that between 8 people. That's 100 bucks a night, whatever, for a fat freaking living in a huge mansion. Another one, huge mansion, $700 a night. This one is pretty chill, cool. Look at this one. You can live in a chill place like this, you know, not that big, but it's got like a small little pool, 3 beds, $187 a night. As I do my best Jabril impersonation, but you know, yeah, tons of options. $85 a night, freaking 200, 300, all these sick villas. That is Bali living, all the way up to a place like this that I'm staying at here just for one night, is Casa Casba. And this is like $750 a night or something, but it's got 6 bedrooms, so split that between, you know, 6 to 10 people, you know, whatever. So it really, Bali is what you make it. You can live on any budget, but if everyone wants to throw down $100 a night, you can really stay in an amazing place and have a dope ass time. So yeah, and then yeah, so what about the monthly? Let's say I want to get a villa for a month. So on Airbnb, you do get that 10% discount for a month, or you can contact the company and see if they can do a better deal. But either way, I know some e-commerce guys that have done this before, get a sick villa and split it between 4 guys and do a monthly thing. So, you know, starting at, for example, like 4 guys want to throw down like $400 a month and put that towards $1,600 a month for a villa. You can do that for like an average villa, not that big, but still a nice crib, where kind of like a mastermind work live type situation. I know e-commerce friends that are doing that. Or if everyone's crushing it, freaking 4 to 6 guys can throw down $1,000 a month and throw down $4,000 a month total on like a sick ass villa, on a big ass villa, and live it baller lifestyle. So if you want to take less than you're probably paying at home in the States or wherever you're from, and throw $1,000 a month down on a villa, you guys can get a sick ass place and have a sick ass month or more here in Bali. So that's what people do in Canggu. That's what e-commerce guys do. That's called like an e-commerce crib, and I hope to do that in the future soon. If you're interested in doing that, let's get a fat place and have an e-commerce mastermind. Maybe living that life should do that sometime.
Okay, on to the co-working space in Canggu. What does the co-working versus cafe situation look like? So in general, there is one main co-working space, which is called Dojo. There are also cafes. So in general, I think most digital nomads work at Dojo. It's an amazing co-working space, probably the coolest one I've ever seen. It kind of has the feeling of a big villa mansion, which is kind of what it is. It's just a big converted villa house, and they converted that into a co-working space. So what I quickly